Start recording. Okay, so now I got the recording going. And what I think I'm going to do first, Jay, is I'm going to open up my browser here, and we'll talk very quickly about our discussions and our assignments, okay?
All right.
So have you taken a look at these yet?
No, not yet.
All right, so let me just explain to you what we're doing here. There are two color resources that are being offered to you in this first discussion. The first one is Adobe Cooler. Now, have you ever heard of Cooler before?
No.
Okay, well, you're in for a treat. Cooler is a really good functional application that gives you the ability to come up with great color combinations. And you can base them on a lot of the different color arrangements that we're going to be discussing in our course here. So this is the link. This is the actual link to the Cooler site. So let me see if I click this guy, bring us to Cooler, and here's Cooler. There's Cooler. Okay, so you see what we can do here is we can come in here and we can pick a rule: analogous, monochromatic, triad, complementary, compound shades, and even go custom. I'm not going to do a demonstration of this tonight because it's really your responsibility to go in and play with this. But what I do want to do is I thought I'd show it to you. This is basically what it is. All right, I'm going to get out of here. And I also gave you another link. This link actually has a number of really good little YouTube videos, and I think what I'll do is show you this. And give me a second. Yeah, so here we go. We've got Cooler tutorial, and what is this? Let's see if it tells you. Oh, it's 5 minutes. Understanding Cooler in Photoshop, that's 5 minutes. How to Cooler. So, I mean, basically what I did here was I just did a Google search. And went to, actually I didn't do a Google search, I did a YouTube search for Cooler. So I got an absolute ton of different little 5 minute or 8 minutes. There's one that's 26 minutes, so this is quite extensive. So there's a bunch of them in here. Now what these little videos are going to do for you is they're going to give you instruction on some of the basic usage of Cooler, how you work with it. So if you're going to do a discussion, we'll go back to that. So you understand that there's your link for Cooler, and there's a link that I've supplied you with of resources where you can, and again, what I would do is I'd go to YouTube first, and I would look at some of these to get a sense of what Cooler's all about, then go in and start playing around with Cooler, okay?
Right.
All right, so if you don't have an Adobe ID, you're going to have to set up an ID before you can log in. Okay, no. And the only thing I can tell you about that is I don't believe it costs you anything. I think it's free, and I don't know. Do you have an Adobe ID yet, or no?
No, I do not.
No, you don't. Okay, well, it's very easy to sign in and get one. It's not a big deal. Did you upgrade to Creative Cloud yet?
No, actually, I was going to do that tomorrow.
Okay, well, there's also in my announcements, there's also a announcement that has some instruction on doing that. So you really should go in, and let me just quickly go over to the announcements, and I'll show you that what I've put in here for you. This is a welcome. This is a reminder to update. There might be, I guess there's nothing attached to that. A welcome and additional resources. It's a zip file with some materials for you. You can download them and take a look at them. And additional resources, there's an attachment there. And there's a listing of some of my sites, LinkedIn, WordPress, and my, I also have a YouTube site where I have a lot of my sessions that I do, and a lot of my independent teachings are there. So you can go and take a look at that as well. And then these are the rubrics. You probably definitely want to download this so that you understand pretty much how you're supposed to be working in this class. Mm-hmm. In your discussions, there's a rubric for you. Are you familiar with what rubrics are?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, so there's a rubric for the discussions. If you haven't looked at another one, you should look at it, get a sense of what you should be doing for that proper submission for your discussion. It's the same with the assignment and the assessment. So you get a sense of what I'm looking for beside the fact that this is a color in production class, and that you are understanding the concepts that I'm showing you about color in production. You know, this isn't really as much a creative class as it's a production class. And what I'm really concerned is that, yes, you do a nice job design-wise, but that I'm seeing you do the things from a production standpoint that I'm looking for. That's really what I'm looking for. And then here's a note similar to the, I guess, the email I sent you about our live sessions. This is the one that get your Adobe CC now. There's links on here that will help you to get and set it up. And then we also have a learning coach. And Misty Porch, and she is our learning coach. She's my assistant. She's our assistant. You will work with her or myself. So you have two people. If you can't get in touch with me, you try to get in touch with Misty. And her information is listed in there. Okay?
All right.
All right, so that's basically what's there. You can see that there's a number of things that you should come after, okay? And I think it's important for you to go in and take a look at these things, download them, and try to take a look at some of this stuff, because it really will help your first week significantly, all right?
Okay.
So let's go back to this. Let's go back to discussions and color resources. So that the thing that you're going to do with this is, oh, there's another one that I didn't mention, degreeve.com, and they have a color palette too. So you're also going to go check this one out. So really what you're going to do is the whole purpose of this is for you to look at Cooler and understand Cooler a little bit and this degreeve, okay? What I'm saying to you is that instead of just looking at Cooler and stumbling around and try to figure it out by yourself, I'm saying that I went the next step, which is to get you some training, 5 minutes, 8 minutes of video that you can look at that will give you an explanation of what Cooler is and how it functions. So that by the time you hit Cooler, you won't be going in cold. You'll have a pretty good idea of what it's supposed to be doing and what you're supposed to be doing with it. Okay, so any questions?
Not yet.
Good. So we'll go to the assignments and the assessments real quick. And the first assignment will be right here, the color wheel and color exploration. So essentially what I'm going to be demonstrating tonight is how to do this. I mean, you don't have to do it exactly the way I do it, but I'm going to give you a pretty good idea of how you would go about doing this. The color wheel with 12 colors. And then what you're going to do is, so the color wheel is the first part. The second part is you're going to visually represent the following color relationships. This goes back to Cooler. I'm not necessarily that you have to use Cooler to do this, but Cooler works by virtue of establishing a color relationship. So here, what you're going to do is you're going to show me in a visual representation, primary colors, secondary colors, tertiary colors, and complementary colors. Now, what I would do with this, if I were you, is I would create my color wheel first. And then what I would do is I would make duplications of my color wheel. Are you familiar with Illustrator?
Yes.
Good with it? Happy with it? Comfortable with it?
I love Illustrator.
Good. Okay, so you know about artboards?
Yes.
Okay, so this project, in my mind, if I were going to do this, and I actually am going to do part of it with you tonight, how I would approach this is I would create my initial artboard, and on that initial artboard, I would create my initial color wheel with the 12 colors. That would be the step number 1 of your project. Then step number 2 of your project would be to create an additional 4, and I would duplicate the color wheel on those 4, and I would then represent the primary colors, the secondary, the tertiary, and the complementary colors. So now you've got basically 5 individual color wheels showing those primary, secondary, tertiary, complementary, and then the color wheel itself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what you're going to do, and I'll give you a demonstration of that in a little while. And you will want to label the colors and use the color names and come up with some kind of a simple, and this is where the students always go wrong. They always tend to go and make things just so elaborate. This is a very simple project. I'm not looking for you to go and make some kind of a, crazy exotic thing. If you want to use some creativity, that's fine. But this is a very simple geometric shape type of a deal. I'm going to show you how I handle it, and I have no problem with you handling it along those lines. You don't need to show every single complementary color. You don't need to show every single tertiary color. All I'm looking for is you to represent that you know what a complementary color pair is. And you do that by showing one of them. That's all you need to do. You'll complete the project in Illustrator, and it can be an 8.5 by 11 document, so that's easy enough. You just create a blank 8.5 by 11 document, and you should keep the native file. You know what a native file, that's the .ai file, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one thing I would really recommend, I am also one of the instructors that works in the student Blackboard Collaborate Help Center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and one of the things that I always see that I always find troubling is that students tend to not organize themselves very, very well. And what I do recommend is that you find a place that you're going to store all your stuff and work with folders, and make sure that you have, what I generally do for myself is I create a folder for color and production. And then inside my folder for color and production, I would have week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And anything I work on in week 1 will go in the week 1 folder. So if I have to go look for something week 3 that refers back to week 1, I know exactly where to find it. So it may be ridiculous for me to say this to you, but believe me when I tell you, I've seen so many students that don't do this, that I just think it's a good idea that I at least mention it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, what you're going to do is you're going to, in the end, submit this as an Adobe PDF file. Since this is a color and production course, one of the things that I'm going to be talking about over the course of the 4 weeks are production techniques. So I'm going to be focusing on the proper way to create things like, for instance, a PDF file. And Angela's here. Hi, Angela. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
I'm very good. I hope you got my email and that you're in a nice quiet place, no interruptions and stuff, right?
Right.
Okay. Angela, this is Jay. Jay's one of the other students.
Hello.
Hi, Jay.
Yep. So what I'm going to do, I explained this to Jay, I'm going to leave you guys have your mics. All I ask you to do is to be respectful, try to keep everybody away from you, keep it quiet. If you have a question, feel free to ask at any time. I will periodically ask for replies, and either one of you or both of you can feel free to respond to me. I have no problem if both of you answer at the same time. I like to try to keep things informal, and I like to have instant feedback from you as we go along. I like to be able to, hear you say something if you're having a question, so I can deal with it right then and there on the spot. Now, again, there's a lot of people in this class. Right now, I only got the 2 of you, so that's good. But at least this way, if you have any questions, we address it right now. All right?
Okay.
All right. So you're going to have to watch the video, the recording, to see what Jay and I were discussing prior to this. So I'm just kind of move ahead. All right?
Okay. All right.
All right. So that is our color wheel and our exploration. And Jay and I were talking a little bit earlier about the announcements and our discussions. Watch the recording and you can see that.
Okay.
So let's see here now. All right, so color relationships. Since this particular project, the assignment 1, has to do with these color relationships, what I did was I went and Googled color relationships for you. And I just want to show you that all you need to do, Angela, Jay, and class, is go to the Google and type in about color relationships. And you're going to get, look at how many results. Nuts, huh?
Yeah.
So ultimately, I looked at the first 5, okay? And I didn't have to go any further than the first 5, and I got everything I needed to know. I'm just showing you this because I want you to understand how easy it is to go in and get the information you need to make sense of what we're doing. So I think I'm going to try to click on the number 2, and if I remember correctly, this is the one that impressed me most because, again, it's simple. I'm always up for finding the simple, most direct way to deal with stuff. So I'll click on this for a second. And what comes up, color combinations may pass unnoticed when pleased, yet offend dramatically when compositions seem to clash. One outcome we seek in the final form of composition is the successful use of color. We determine whether the colors are successful by critically assessing the visual balance and harmony of the final composition, blah, 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 and go. I'm not going to read the whole thing. What I'm really here for is that I want to show you that here's like a monochromatic relationship. Colors that are shade or tint variations of the same hue. Now, when we talk about color, the word hue means color. So I don't know whether either one of you knew that or not. Are you guys aware that color and hue mean the same thing?
Yes.
Okay, good. So that's really what it is. Complementary relationships are those across from each other on the color wheel. Now notice that this particular diagram shows you a number of different variations of that color. And then this here is the complementary relationship, and it shows you a number of variations of that color. What this essentially means is that you can pick any one of these colors and any one of these colors and still be within a complementary range. So if you wanted to make the complementary color, that deep red color right there, and you wanted the green to be secondary but complementary, you could go to a lighter version and you would have that relationship. It would still be complementary, but one would take precedence over the other. So this is essentially how we work with this. Now, you've got split complementary, which is one that you'll be looking for. Split complementary essentially means that you have a complementary relationship on one side, and then you jump to the colors that are opposite of in other words, your complementary color would be here, and the split would be the colors on either side of that complementary color. Does that make sense, my explanation?
Yes.
Yeah, and then of course a double split is where you're doing it on both ends. So these are just some of the different relationships that you're going to be looking for. Analogous, those colors located adjacent to each other on a color wheel. And a triad, 3 hues equally positioned on a color wheel. So it's really simple to come in here and find what you're looking for. Again, about color relationships. And then of course, let's see what this one looks like real quickly. Yeah, see, here's another way that they're showing it. They're using a color wheel, but what they're doing is they're actually, instead of making a physical wheel, they're just using dots of color, and there's 12 of them, and they're building their primary. This is good because this will give you an idea of one way that you could demonstrate these relationships, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so there you go. That'll give you some ideas. A complementary relationship. There's an analogous. There are many different ways that you can represent this. And again, I leave that to you, how you're going to go about doing that, okay? But that's essentially what the assignment is going to be this week. The assessment now being part 2. I guess that's the assignment. This is the assessment. Okay, now the assessment, no, I'm sorry, I got wait a minute, I want the assessment. Let me go back, hold on. Let me see what I did here. I want the assessment, because I got the assignment over here. The assessment's right here. The assessment is color exploration. Oh, no, that's, okay, here we go. This is the one. This is the next thing that you're going to do. So the assignment, not to mess you up, but the assignment essentially is that you're going to, let me go here. You're going to put together a color wheel, and then you're going to show me primary, secondary, tertiary, complementary, as I discussed earlier. And the assessment, which is part 2, is you're going to create a composition. When I mean a composition, I'm going to show you in a minute exactly what I'm talking about. It's really creative. It's up to you to decide how you go about doing this. I'm going to show you a couple of things that I did. You don't have to do what I did, but you can do whatever you want. But the bottom line is, the purpose of this is for you to take an analogous arrangement and use that analogous arrangement in your composition. So you're going to make a composition working with the analogous color. You're going to do the complementary color using the same basic composition, and then you're going to go monochromatic. Okay, so those are the 3 that you're going to do. And the instructions essentially are, keep it abstract, don't try to make a scene. make it some sort of a graphic or non-representational piece of art. When it says Illustrator is the best, but InDesign can be used, I can't change this, but I'm going to insist that you do this in Adobe Illustrator for one very good reason. This is a production course. And what I'm mostly concerned about is instilling into your minds that there's a particular way things should be done correctly. And you should be using the programs right now. If you haven't been doing it before, right now from this point forward, start using the programs properly. And I'm going to be talking about that through the 4 weeks of this course. It's really important for you as designers to have control over Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign, and for web programs like Dreamweaver. You need to have control, and you need to know when and when not to use those programs. So I am going to be kind of fussy about this because I want to try to get you guys thinking and acting in the right way for your good.
Okay.
So the size of this thing is going to be 8 by 8. That means essentially you're going to go into Illustrator, you're going to create an artboard of 8 by 8 inches, and you're going to produce this abstract graphic representation in those colors. Got it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Once again, Angela, how do you feel about Illustrator? Are you comfortable with it?
Oh, I love it. That's the one I prefer working in.
Okay. Oh, that's
Illustrator.
That's very good. So you know about artboards and stuff like that?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
All right. That's very good. And then, of course, since this is a multi-page, and again, you're going to be creating these. Go back to what you're creating. You're going to create analogous, complementary, monochromatic. So there's 3, right? So that means that the logical way to do this is to create 3 pages. And it says here, total of 3 pages. And of course, this instructs you how to name the file to send to me. I'm going to be doing a demonstration of this after we get done with this explanation. And I don't think you'll have any problem with any of this. I really don't. I think these are actually very simple. I think the logical thing for you to do, though, is to start off with your discussion. And I'm just going to touch on this very quickly again because I started with this. The color resources are here, Adobe Cooler, but before you look at Cooler, make sure you come in here and check this out and see a little bit about Cooler. Okay, and also in the announcements, you will find that I have for you a list of places where you can go in, and also remember that I showed you about color relationships. Google that, and you'll get all that you need to know to do this. Oh, and by the way, this is something else I really just wanted to quickly talk to you about. Not only can you go and find web stuff, but I found my images here. So you can come in here and you can literally grab an image that you can use not only to get your colors, but you can also get ideas as to how you might go about representing the color wheels. There's tons and tons and tons of different ways that it's being done here. And many of them are similar, but you get some ideas from it. There's also videos. So you see here, look, again, another way to do it about color relationships. Come in here, look at Understanding Color Relationships by lynda.com. Are you guys familiar with lynda.com?
No.
Yes, I am.
Well, lynda.com is a pretty good place where you can get some good training there. Color relationships from the course Working with Color. All you have to do really is Google about color relationships, and I think you're really started down the right road. So that's my tip for you as far as getting yourself going, getting yourself to the point where you have what you need to be a powerhouse this week. Do you guys feel comfortable?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I just had a question. Now for the color wheel, would you want us to create that in Illustrator?
I do.
Okay.
I want you guys to understand that my goal as an instructor is to make you aware of how important it is for you to know the production techniques. I'm going to tell you flat out from the beginning, the production techniques are very simple. They're really not hard. You just have to know them, and you have to remember them, and you have to apply them properly. This can be a very easy course. The hardest part of the course is doing the work. Some people are lazy and don't want to do the work. But if you do the work and you focus your attention primarily on the techniques that I am covering regarding the color and production aspects, you will pass and you will get good grades. Because I'm not concerned that your, for instance, week 3 trifold brochure is a gorgeous trifold brochure. What I'm concerned about is the techniques that are used to create that print-ready brochure have been properly deployed. If they are not, the printer would not be able to print. And essentially, you haven't really created a proper file. So you've essentially failed. In other words, if a printer can't print it, you failed. And it's not a total failure, because, I mean, the only right way it's a total failure if you don't go in and correct it. Because you're going to have 4 weeks to correct everything. If you can go through this and correct this stuff at any time you want, and you have myself, and you have, if you go back to our announcements, we have an assistant. I have an assistant. You have an assistant. Her name is Misty. She can help you. I can help you. I'm in the Learning Center on several days through the course of this. I will list those days so that you can come and visit me there if you have any questions. You have everything you need. You really aren't going to have any trouble. Plus, each week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some of the things that are essential to you to get this week's work done properly. And if you're here, you have the opportunity to question me on it right here, right now. So again, I'm a very friendly kind of person. My goal here is to try to get you to pass. I'll do everything I can to make you ready to pass. The bottom line is, though, you're the one that's got to do the work. I can show you how to do it. I've done it many, many times, so it might seem a lot easier to me than it is to you. But I can tell you flat out right now, none of this is all that difficult. And you will definitely learn more things about Illustrator, which I think is a very important thing for you to know. I think it's one of the best programs out there. And I think it's one that every graphic designer should have a pretty strong feeling for, because you should be using it quite a bit in your work. All right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
All right, so good with all this? Any questions, final questions about this so we can move ahead?
Nope.
Nope, we're good?
Nope.
All right,
Yep, we're good.
get rid of this. And let me bring up Adobe Illustrator. Okay, so this is the very first thing that we're going to create. And we are going to create our color wheel, okay? So I have an exercise over here, which I'm going to move to in a minute. But before I do that, let's just talk a little bit about how to display this stuff. Okay, so here's your color wheel. This is one of the things that you're going to create for me. You got it? I got the name of the color. I got the color. I got a wheel, and it is in the wheel configuration. It doesn't have to be any more glamorous than this, really. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So now, one of the things that I have to do is I have to show color relationships. And to be totally honest with you, it's a really easy way to do this. Let's see if I got this group. I think I do have it grouped. Let's go Object, Ungroup. Yeah, so let's see. You know what? I want to go to the View menu and hide bounding box. I don't like the bounding box. I'm not somebody who likes working with the bounding box myself. Object, Ungroup. All right, that should do it. Yes. Okay. So now I have my everything's ungrouped. So what I am going to do is I'm going to just show you very quickly how you would organize this to show the relationship of complementary. And in this particular case, I'm simply going to use the complementary red and green. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so if I were going, this is the first thing you're going to submit to me. You're going to submit to me the color wheel, just showing the regular color wheel with all the colors, just the way it is, okay?
Okay.
All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to my, go to the window. I'm going to open up, let's see if it's open already. It's artboards. All right, so I'm going to bring my artboards over here, and I'm going to add an artboard to this. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this whole thing, and I'm going to go Edit Copy. And I'm going to move it on to Artboard 2. and I'm going to go edit, paste in place. All right, so there's my next one. So the only thing I would have to do with this, in other words, you could do this another way if you want, but if I were just going to move ahead with this, I would come in, I would get my text tool, type complementary. And then, you know, I would format this. I'm not even going to bother. I think you understand that I would be formatting this, maybe make it a little bit bigger, whatever. So what I want to do now is I want to show a complementary relationship, okay? And there's an incredibly easy way to do this. So what I'm going to do is, you guys, are you familiar with the move called the marquee?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going for red and green, right?
Mm-hmm.
Close this down here for a second, and let me go to the window menu and let me open up transparency. Okay, transparency. So I bring oh, that's the stroke one. I don't want the stroke. I want the transparency. You know what? I got my participants open here, and it's right. It's in the way of everything. Okay, so there's my transparency. All right, so go back to the marquee. So here's the deal. I want red. I want green. I want these to be somehow or other changed so that my focus is on the red and the green, the complementary, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So by marqueeing, and this is just one way to do it, okay? I'm going to marquee this, and I'm going to come down, and I'm going to marquee through all those colors except the green and the red. Can you see where I'm marqueeing?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, and I select them. And then coming over here in opacity, I'm going to take this slider, and I'm going to knock the opacity down to, let's say, oh, I don't know, maybe 50? Let's try about 50. Now, if I deselect, see what I've done?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've made that, it's still there, but I've now lightened this so that the focus is on the complementary relationship. So does that make sense? See what I'm going for?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to do essentially the same thing right here. I'm going to come over and grab those, come down. And it's interesting, too, because it shows you a view of what it is that you're doing. And with the transparency palette, I'm going to drag this down and bring it to about 52, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now I have my number 2, complementary. So this would be a really good way to show the complementary. And then the final thing that you would do here is you would come in here and you would create a straight line that would be something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would come in and you would add, oh, I don't know, maybe like make a 5-point line. I could even go 6. Let's go 6. Okay, so now I got a nice little line. And you guys are familiar with the arrowheads, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I'd go to the window menu and I'd find my stroke. And I'd bring my stroke over here and I would drop this down, showing options. And I can come in and I can choose my arrowheads for both ends.
Right.
And let's make a nice wide one for there. And it's a little bit wide. Let's go to the, I think it was, what was it, this one? Yeah. Okay, so there you go. And see how easy it is? Now all I have to do if I want to make this a little bit better is I can take this thing and I can just drag that thing down maybe until it does that, and drag this thing up until it does that.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, that's all you need to do. I mean, you don't have to go and make this thing any, of course, I'm a little bit off here. I would select this perhaps and, you know, move it up just a bit so that visually it looks correct. That looks a little bit better. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for you to come in here and create for me a color wheel. And then I'm looking for you to take the complementary or whatever the color relationships are given and demonstrate those on an additional document. Now, I'm going to save this for a minute. And we're going to come back to this at the end because I'm going to use this one as my example to export, okay, to show you how to export this to send it to me, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about this?
No,
No.
What do you think? Does this seem hard?
No, it doesn't.
not at all.
No, it shouldn't be hard at all. I'm going to show you, I'm going to come over to here and I'm going to show you some more fun stuff. All right, so we're going to move on to this, which is my, I guess I'll probably bring these over here and minimize them for a moment. Bring them up here out of the way. Bring that over here too. Bring that down over here. I'll probably use them again later, so we'll get them out of the way. All right, so basically here again is the same thing, except that I didn't bring the colors down. I basically just am showing this and the complementary I have in the middle here. But that's just like another different way that you could do this. And this would be okay as well. As long as you're showing the relationship, you don't have to have them grayed out like I did. I just think graying them out actually is kind of an interesting way, and it gives me an opportunity to show you a little bit more about Illustrator, which is what I'm always open to do. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so you guys are familiar with the basic tools, right, in Illustrator?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so then you know how to make a basic circle.
Yes.
Okay, so here's my basic circle. I just created that circle. I don't have to do it for you. And you know how to make a basic line, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so the question is, what is the easiest and most reasonable way? Oh, and by the way, just so that you know, the reason that these 12 hues are up here, and if you would like, I could upload this and you could actually pick these hues. But if you go back to, you don't really need this, because if you go back to that Google, where you were Googling the color relationships, you could easily pick up a picture. That's how I started this whole thing. I simply went there, grabbed one of the visuals and brought it in, locked it down, and then just copied the colors. And anyway, these are the colors that I come up with. And they're, of course, the colors in representation. And there's the color name, and there is the actual hexadecimal number for them. Okay, and if you were to load that into something, you would ultimately get one of those colors. Okay, so does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you really shouldn't have any trouble with that. But this is the fun part. This is where we get a little bit creative. How do we make a pie? How do we turn this into a pie? There's probably a number of ways we could do this, but there are ways that I like to do this. And I also like to show you interesting things about Adobe Illustrator. So this is how we're going to do this, and hopefully this will be something that you don't know about. I'm going to start off by pointing out that there is a center point. See how I got the center point showing there?
Yes.
Okay, and I think if you go to the window menu and go to, let's see, where is it? It's not appearance. Well, where was it? Let me see. Let me think. Not info. I'm trying to remember where I got this from. Appearance, align, attributes. Over print stroke. Show all. Yeah. See it? Show center. If I click on this, the center point goes away. See it?
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to show the center on my objects, which I do in this case, click on that and I get my center. Okay, so it's under attributes. So that's a first one. Okay, so now what I want to do though is I want to begin the process of dividing this up. Are you guys familiar with the Pathfinder palette?
Yes.
Pathfinder palette?
I don't remember that one, no.
Well, we'll go to the window menu and we'll bring it out. Pathfinder. It's right here. Pathfinder. There's the Pathfinder palette. The Pathfinder palette gives me the ability to create different compound shapes, all right? And I'm going to show you how to use this to create my pie shape in conjunction with the rotate tool. As you can see, I've indicated a rotation level here. So the first thing that I want to do is I have to create something that looks like this spoked wheel. So I'm doing that by creating my circle and my line, bisecting it. And notice that this thing is centered. See it? Watch when I click on that. See how that line hits right on that center point?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a very important thing, because what you want to do is you want to rotate this line, duplicating it 30 degrees until you divide it into 12 segments. Okay?
Okay.
So watch how I do that. Double click on the rotation tool, and I'm going to rotate this thing, and I'm going to change the angle of that from 0 to 30. And I'm going to hit preview. Watch what happens. And oops, oh, you know what? Cancel. I have the wrong thing selected. That's the problem. I actually should have this selected. There we go. Sorry about that. Double click and 30 and preview. There it goes. See how that's moved?
Yeah.
Okay, but I need it to duplicate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit copy. Watch what happens. So now I have my first copy.
That's easy enough.
Easy. It's incredibly easy. And what's nice about this is it took me a few minutes to figure out the right rotation angle. But once I got the right rotation angle, each one of these little segments will be exactly the same segment size, which is just what I'm looking for. Okay? So now I'm going to come in, double click again, and hit copy. And now I've made my second one. See it's how easy this is? This is a piece of cake. Double click again, copy, and now I'm halfway done. I got to do 2 more and I'm done. Double click, and it's 30 degrees. Notice that the panel remembers what you're doing. So when you hit copy now, okay, I got 1 more to do. Double click and copy, and look at that. That's all it takes.
Wow.
I mean, you could do that in a matter of minutes. You know what the biggest problem with this is? Remembering it.
Okay.
That's really what the biggest problem is. Have you ever seen anybody do this before?
No.
No. Have you ever done it before?
No.
No. So again, this will probably be a little tricky the first time you go ahead and do this. But once you get it, once you know it, you're going to be able to do this, and you'll use this, I'm sure, at some point in the future.
Okay.
All right. So
can I make a real quick recommendation?
Go right ahead.
For the class. I find it so much easier to watch the video while I'm doing it. It would be a lot easier to remember that if you have multiple windows open, one window playing the video of this session while doing that, it's easy to remember.
Are you talking about you?
Yeah, well, watch the, if we watch the video of this session while we are in Illustrator on another window, then we don't have to remember how you just did that. We can do it along with you. It makes it a lot easier.
Oh, so in other words, all you're saying is when you get ready to go in and do this particular thing, you're going to try to locate that portion of the video where I'm doing this. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a great idea. And so anyway, so now that we have this, we have all the elements that we need to make this pie. So how do we make the pie? Well, let's go back to the Pathfinder, because that's the next step. What we're going to do now is we're going to select the whole thing by marqueing it. So everything's selected now. And if we were to click on the Unite, what it would do is it would throw this all together and make one piece, which wouldn't be any good. This would not work either. It would be minus front, so it just wouldn't work out. One of these would disappear and the others would just get all wacky. These are not the ones we're looking for at all. They do other things, and they don't apply here. The one that we're really looking for is the one called divide. What divide ultimately does is it takes all of the objects and it divides them all up into individual units. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so watch now when I click on this, watch what happens to my shape. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Do you see what happened?
Yeah.
Okay. Now this one here, let me go edit undo. Let me see something here. Is there 2 here? Let me just see this for a minute. Delete. There's not. Control Z. That came out funny. I don't know why that did that. I guess it's no big deal. So we divide this thing. Now what happens with this is the area outside vanishes, but the area inside here now has been all divided up into individual elements. See when I roll over one, you see what selects?
Yeah.
Okay, it's grouped though. So what we're going to do is we're going to go Object, Ungroup.
Okay.
Okay, so now that we've ungrouped this, we can click on this thing, and we now have our colors. Okay, so now we can look at our colors. So let's go in and let's go to the swatches. Window, swatches. Swatches. There's our swatches. Okay, so now this is the next part of, and this I'm going to deviate. We're going to go into a slight deviation here because this is an important point. Whenever you create a document, let me create a new document. File, new. And I'm not even going to mess with this. I'm just going to hit OK to open a document. I get a blank document. Take a look at your swatches panel. See what it looks like?
Mm-hmm.
You get all these swatches. Is there anything wrong with those swatches? Really, there's not. But from a design standpoint, as designers, we try to control our environment as much as possible. And if we were going to be working on a project which has to do with 12 very specific colors, I don't think it's a good idea to have all this stuff in our swatches panel. Can you see my point?
Yes, it can get a bit confusing. Yeah.
Yes. So what I like to do myself, and I can get out of here right now, we go back to this one. What I generally like to do with this is I like to come in here and I like to get rid of all of this stuff. And then I like to load the colors in that I'm going to be using. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I think it's a very good design or production technique. When you're working on a project, always get rid of all the unnecessary stuff so that you're only dealing with the things that you want to deal with. This way, you have everything, you know where it all is, you don't even have to look for it, it's almost like intuitive. Very easy to do this. You come over to the drop-down menu, and you see where it says Select All Unused.
Mm-hmm.
You click on that, and then you're going to hit the oh, by the way, notice what they do. They all come up and highlight, and you're going to click the garbage can, and you're going to delete them all. They all go away, except that this one for some reason does not, but we can get rid of that easy enough. And you're left with none, which will not go away, and you should have that in there. This is a registration color, which is a variation of black. This color here is white, and this color here is black. Those colors should always be in your swatches panel anyway, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. And you're going to see me do this each week. This is something I'm going to repeat through the process because I want you to get used to doing this. I want you to start thinking like professionals, and all these little things do matter. So I want you to start thinking about this, and I want you to start handling this. You should do this, a similar thing in Adobe Photoshop. You should be doing a similar thing in Adobe InDesign ultimately, okay?
Okay. All right.
So now what I'm going to do is, with nothing selected, everything's deselected, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to remove the stroke, so nothing's showing on the stroke, and I'm going to bring my fill forward, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start off by clicking on the red. Now I'm cheating. You guys, if you brought in one of your pieces from my site, I don't know whether I still have it up here or not. Let's see. Yeah, if you come in here and go to images, okay, and let's say, oh, I'm going to grab, I don't know which one. Let's see which one looks good. This one looks pretty good. Let's say you grab that image and you put that into your Illustrator file. Go back here. Let's say that's what you're looking at here. What you would do is you would use your eyedropper tool to sample that. And I actually did it, and it's still there. The red is still there. See it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, and you have a choice. You can either come over here. I'm going to get my regular selection tool. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go New Swatch. And we're working with right now CMYK process. It's no big deal. We're just going to let it go at that. This is fine. Hit OK. And you now have your red loaded. It's really simple. That's all there is. And if you come over here and click on this guy, you'll see now that, oh, this is group object. Let's ungroup it. Let's see now. Did that do it? Yes, it did. I can also click and drag and drop that in there.
Mm-hmm.
So you either can click and drag and drop it like this, or you can come in here and you can create a new swatch and hit OK. But the bottom line is what you want to do is you want to just load all of your swatches into here. And if you were doing this, I'm going to probably do this with this for now. If this were just a bitmap that you grabbed from the web, you would be doing it this way. And you're going to drag in and you're going to load all of your colors in here. Oh, and you know what? I had that selected, so I got edit, undo swatch, and edit, undo eyedropper. Yeah, I want to deselect that first. There we go. Now I think I can get it. I can. And then I can drag that in. Okay, so you got to be really careful when you do this stuff because, again, this is a very sensitive program. Click on that, drag it in, and that, drag it in, click and drag it in, click, and we're almost done. Drag it in, and click, and drag it in. And now you have a really nice looking swatches panel that has the colors that you're using. Like I say, I'm not, you know, I'm only showing you this stuff, and I'm only telling you to think this way because I want you to be as professional as possible. This is a production course. The things that I'm talking about make sense from a production standpoint. When you are producing artwork, try to control things. Try to get things sort of worked out so that you don't have a lot of extra stuff. And one of the places that you can definitely control this is in the swatches. Now also notice that I'm using a gray here, part of my composition. So I'm going to click and I'm going to drag that gray in there. So now basically I have all the colors in here that I am going to be using on any of my projects for tonight. Easy?
Yep.
Yep. Very
Okay.
easy.
So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over here, and after I've done this, I'm going to start loading my colors into these. Now I want to make sure that I have my fill forward, and I'm going to click the first one and put the red in. Then I'm going to click the next one and make that the orange, and I'm just going to work around and keep working around, loading my colors in, making sure that I go in the proper order. Don't get out of order. Just keep coming around. Colors. And that one is the green. And this is my light blue. And my darker blue. True blue. And the, and there, oops, there are my colors. Now, if I want, I can select this whole thing, bring my stroke forward and change my stroke to gray, and I basically have what I have over here. Of course, you could also do it this way. You could also come in here and hit the none button, and you could have none. And this looks like this is over just a tiny bit. I might have accidentally moved that. That's probably what the problem is. But there you go. So there's one way it could look, or you could select this and again put the gray on it, however you want to do it. That's not hard, right?
Nope, not at all.
Now, if you want to do something like this, the complementary where I've got that donut shape, all you have to do literally is get yourself an ellipse and come over to center. And on my machine, I have to hold down, let me get it right in place properly. I got to hold the shift and the alt key, and I can create a circle like that. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the whole thing. And once again, I'm going to come over to my, where is it? Which is it? Window, Pathfinder. I guess I shut it. I did. And I'm going to divide this. And see, notice in the middle here, this thing is divided again. Object, ungroup. And I can come in here and delete that. And then I can marquee the rest of these. Whoops, well, I didn't do a very good job at that. Let's try it again. Marquee that stuff in the middle and hit delete. And now I got that.
Okay.
So, I mean, all this stuff is actually very easy and very fun. And if you think logically, if you take your time, you think very, very simply, you can come up with something that looks really good. So you now have my complementary showing here, and you could then create your second and third by just creating your artboards. Everything cool with this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, no questions, right?
Nope.
Okay, I'm gonna ditch this then, save it, no. Let's go back to this for a minute. And what I'm going to do is go View, Fit All in Window. And let's say that we have our 4 pieces, all right? Complementary, I'm gonna make that a little bit bigger, just so that you know that that's something that you're gonna do. There, that's probably good. You bring your complementary down. Like I say, this is stuff that you don't have to go completely nuts with. You can just basically give me a nice composition showing me the color relationships, and either do it this way, or you could do it, you don't have to gray this. It's whatever you decide you want to do. So the next step for this is how you submit it to me. When you create Adobe PDFs, there are 2 types of PDFs that you can create. One of the PDF types is where you're not using printer's marks, and one of them is where you will be using printer's marks. This particular project, since it's really just a demonstration of your ability to follow directions and put together a nice visual that shows color relationships, this is not actually going to be produced. Next week, we're going to be producing business cards and letterheads and envelopes for a company. And you're going to learn about how to modify color modes. You guys know what a color mode is?
No.
Well, a color mode is a color group. That's probably the easiest way I could put it for you. CMYK, are you familiar with RGB?
Yes.
Red,
Yeah.
green, and blue?
Yes.
And you know that if you're working on the internet or webs, you're working with color mode of RGB.
Oh, okay.
Okay? If you're working in print, 99% of the time you're going to be working with CMYK. CMYK, do you know what that stands for?
Ooh, let's see if I can remember.
cyan, yellow.
There we go.
I can't remember that.
Is it magenta and black?
Yep.
Yeah,
Cyan,
that's
magenta,
Yellow.
CMYK.
Right.
Cyan, magenta, yellow, and black.
That's
Okay.
right.
Now, what that means essentially is that the artwork that you're working with gets separated. If it's a photograph, it gets separated into 4 grayscale plates. And the amount of grayscale on any image determines how much of the color gets blocked out
Okay.
or how much gets printed. So that's basically how that works. Now, there's also a third color mode that we're going to be working with next week, and that is called Pantone color or spot color. So I'm not going to get too deep into that tonight because we will be covering that next week. Again, it is not difficult. I think my explanation will be such that you'll get it, you'll understand it, it won't give you any trouble. You just have to know how to handle those 3 colors, and I will show you how to do that next week.
Okay.
So back to PDF. The PDF that we're going to be doing tonight, since this is going to be a demonstration, we're going to go to the File menu, and we're going to go to Export, and we're going to change this down to PDF. Or wait a minute, you know what? I'm sorry. It's actually File, Save As. Yeah. And we're going to drop it down and make it a PDF. All right. Now, there are different types of PDFs here. Not in this one. Okay, we got just the one PDF. That's the PDF. So this is going to be the color wheel PDF. I'm going to save this to the desktop for now, all right?
Okay.
And you're going to choose use artboards, all, okay? I mean,
Alright.
actually, it'll probably be selected by default.
Mhm.
If you wanted to, if you had 20 artboards and you only wanted to submit one of them, you would click on Arrange, and you would choose just 1 or 2, and 1 or 2 would come out. But in your case, you want to produce all of them in PDF form because you're submitting it to me, okay?
All right.
So let's hit Save. And you get the Illustrator or the Save Adobe PDF. Illustrator default is the preset that you're working with. There are different presets here. Illustrator default is fine. High quality print, there's press quality, smallest file, and then you've got these PDF X4 2000. We'll talk about all this a little bit later on, but for now, just understand that the smallest file size creates a PDF that really will not print very well, not on a color copier or in a press environment. So you don't want to use this if it's something that will ultimately be printed. If you want to print to a color printer, you know, like a, I shouldn't say a color printer, but a color copier, a color printer or a color copier. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, high quality print. And press quality is the highest quality. That is if it's going to be separated and printed on a high quality machine. Now, are you familiar with the sizes, the pixel per inch sizes? Are you familiar with that at all?
A little, very
Okay.
little.
Well, let me mention it. Let me mention it just very quickly here. The smaller size, which is around 72 pixels per inch to 90 pixels per inch, that's the size that you would be using if you were going to be putting something on the internet.
Okay.
Okay. High quality print. If you were going to be printing something from a color copier or a color printer, approximately 150 to 180, which is twice the number on the web. So 150 to 180. And then the press quality, which is the one that I'm sitting over right now, press quality is essentially 300 pixels or higher. And usually the default is 300 pixels. Now, you know, somebody like a printer could tell you more, give it a higher resolution than that, but generally 300 pixels per inch is what you're looking for. Okay? So I just want to mention that stuff to you. Now, over here, preserve Illustrator editing capabilities. This is selected by default. Essentially what that does is it makes it so that if I open this PDF up in Adobe Illustrator, I can convert it back into an Adobe Illustrator file and I can work on it. So if you send something to me or to a printer and you don't want them to be able to do that, if you want them to be incapable of editing your art that you send them, what you're going to do is you're going to deselect this.
Okay.
Okay, and look what it says. These are the default settings when saving an Illustrator file as an Adobe PDF document. Use these settings when you plan on editing a file, again, in Illustrator, when you need to place in layout, application, and design. I guess it doesn't really say. I thought it was going to say something about how you're preserving this, but ultimately you're making it so that you can't edit this in Illustrator. I'm going to leave this on. And then, of course, embed page thumbnails. You can leave this alone. That's not going to bother anything. Optimize for fast web view. You don't have to worry about that because you're sending it to me, and I have a way that I open it and look at it, so I'm not worried about that. View PDF after saving. I don't generally do that. That's basically a way of popping it up and showing you what you did. I might just check on this so we can do that tonight, though. And then create Acrobat layers from top level layers. That's selected by default. You can leave that alone. So the only thing that I did, and you don't have to do it, view PDF after saving. You don't have to do this unless you want to. So the other thing is that over here, you see where it says marks and bleeds?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not going to go there now, but next week we're going to learn about creating an Adobe PDF using marks and bleeds. And why we would want to know about marks and bleeds is because we have to set up a piece of art which is going to go to a printer. And the printer is going to need to be able to go in and take a look at this art and have elements on the page which will help him separate the art and put it back together. Those are your marks, and any element on your page that is going to run to the edge of the page where it cuts out has to bleed by 1/8 of an inch. So you're going to learn about bleeds next week as well, marks and bleeds. And I'll show you very quickly that this is what we're working with here. Not going to get into it all because this is what we're going to look at next week. We're going to go back to general. We're leaving that alone. So all you need to do is create Illustrator, and you could give it to me as high quality print or Illustrator default, either way. Standard and Acrobat compatibility, you can leave right the way they are for now. And just so that you know, you would probably leave these alone unless you're instructed by your printer to give you something else. They might ask you for a different standard, or they might ask you for a different compatibility. It may sound a little bit strange to you, but believe it or not, about a month back, I was working on a project for somebody, and they were told that they needed it to be for Acrobat 4. So I actually had to go in, and Acrobat 5. I had to go in and I had to set it back to Acrobat 5. And all you do to do that is that. No big deal. But somebody has to tell you that. You won't know that unless somebody tells you that. So that's why I'm saying, unless you're being told specifically, you just leave it right where it is, okay? I guess it was at Acrobat 6, wasn't it?
Yes.
Was that what it was?
Yes.
All right. So there you go. That's really all you need to do, and you're going to hit Save PDF, and there's my 2 pages. This is what you're going to be sending me. I'm going to see this. I'm going to see 2. I'm going to see 4. I only got 2 because I only did 2. But you get the idea. You should be able to, I should be able to open this thing up, and I should be able to flip from one to the other, and I should see your composition. That's simple. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yep.
You all good with that?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that is the first part of your assignment, and I'm going to close this out. And let me go to my hex symbol first. This is your assessment. So what I did here basically is I came up with, I don't know whether I need this anymore. I think I can get rid of this. I think I can get rid of this for now. So what I did, let me get this, oh, geez, can't get at it. Let me get that over here. So what I did essentially was, and remember the important thing is the size of this, get the size right. So what I did here essentially was, I live in New Jersey, and up by where I live, there's a lot of Pennsylvania Dutch. And the Pennsylvania Dutch have these hex signs on the side of their barns. They're all over the place. I see them everywhere. Interesting thing about them is they use these shapes, these very graphic shapes. Very much, this is a very common shape. What you're looking at here, very common hex sign. I've seen many of these. And what they generally do is they generally do use these 3 colors. They generally use red, yellow, and blue. Okay, so what I did was I created my first, of red, yellow, and blue. And then what I did was I decided I was going to demonstrate my analogous. There's my analogous. And I'm going to do complementary and split complementary, which I'll show you. okay? And then I'm going to show you a tertiary. So do you have to make a hex sign? No. But the reason that I'm doing this and showing you this is so that you get some idea of how you think about doing something like this. Really, that's all there is to it. Come up with some kind of a grouping of objects or some kind of a little presentation of graphic shapes that will enable you to apply your colors to them to demonstrate the different color relationships. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. So a couple of interesting things. I click on this guy right here, and I can go to the select menu. I like doing these things because I hope that it's something that will show you a little bit more about what you can do with this program. Come to the same and go to the fill color. And notice that on that particular layer, all of them selected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now that red is one of the colors, so I'm not really even going to change that color. So I'll deselect it. The next one is this one here, which is the yellow. And let's go to the select same fill color. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get my eyedropper tool and I'm going to click on the orange. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to get my regular selection tool again, click on the blue, come over here and go select same fill color. And get my eyedropper tool and click on this. And now I have my triad, I have my analogous, I'm going to do complementary next. Now, the interesting thing about this is, and again, you know what to do with these swatches. I'm not going to bother doing it here. You know what to do with this, right?
Yes.
Okay, you're going to get your colors in there, all right? All right, so let me get that out of here. What I do want to show you, though, is on my layers panel, this is kind of interesting. It's my layers, right? Yeah, they're my layers. Okay, notice that I have all of my layers locked except for the analogous. I was just working on the analogous. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the analogous and lock that. I'm going to unlock the split complementary, all right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in and for the complementary and the split complementary is the colors on either side. So let's do the complementary first. So one of the things that you could do with this is you could come in here and you could select your red. Well, the red is actually red, so we'll leave that alone actually. And let's click on this shape here. And let's click on, actually, you know what? Let me click on the yellow. There we go. And let me see if I can get this a little bit off my screen. Click on the eyedropper tool. If I hit that just right, I got it. Yeah, so let's go edit, undo, eyedropper. And let's go select same fill color. All right, and now I click on this and that goes white like that. Since this is complementary, I'm just using this as a third element here. All right. And now I'm gonna come over here, click on this and go select same fill. And I'm going to come over here and grab that. And I'm going to come down and click on the green. And now I've got complementary. And I'm using the white with the black line as my third piece. All right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how to go in here. I'm going to go Object, Unlock All. All right. And now I'm going to click on this guy. I think, what is this? In Transparency. Go to Window, Transparency. There we go. And that's 50%. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to make that 50%. Because we're going to go and we're going to do split complementary. And then I'm going to take this guy, and I'm going to hold down the Shift key, click on that, okay? And I'm going to bring that back up to full volume color. So now what I have is the ability to come in here and do a split complementary, and that's what I'm going to do. So let's, the green we have, so I'm going to click on the white, and I'm going to go select same, I guess actually, is there a fill? There is a fill. So hit fill. I got all my fills. And this time I'm going to get my eyedropper tool, and I'm going to come over here and click on the orange, and I got my orange now. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to come over here, and it is the red. Click on the red, right? Yes, the red. Select same fill color, and come over here, and we're going to go with this color here, the purple, and there we go. So now you have a split complementary, all right? And this thing here was That thing there was selected. So let me make that back to red. And it really should be, that really should be 50%. So let me fix that back so that you really understand what's going on. There we go. Okay, so if you decide to go with split complementary, you end up with 3. That's the whole thing. I got 3 in all these cases. So now the other thing I have here is I'm going to do one more over here. I'm going to lock this one, go back to my layers panel, and that's the complementary. And then this one here, the last one here is, I think it's tertiary. There we go, tertiary. Okay, so this is the last one. What I'm going to do is click on the red. Oh, I got to unlock it. Let's go back to my layers. Forgot to unlock it, or lock, yeah. Lock that, and tertiary, unlock that. Start off by clicking the red, select same, fill color, eyedrop, orange, and select yellow, select same, fill color, and grab this eyedropper, make that green, and then select blue, same, fill color, and eyedrop purple. And view, fit Art Gordon window, or I'm sorry, fit all in window, fit all in window. I missed it again, fit all in window, there we go. All right, and so now lock the layers. So now basically, this is what your assessment's going to look like. Something like this. Does it have to be exactly like this? No, you understand that though, right? I mean, essentially the elements are all there. This is a complete demonstration of a tertiary color, primary color, analogous, and split complementary. Mm-hmm. So that's essentially what I'm looking for you to do, something that demonstrates this. Find a way to do it, something that's interesting to you. I have another one over here, and that's this flower, okay? And it's really the same thing. I mean, essentially, what you have here is you have the relationships of the analogous and the complementary and split complementary. And all you're going to do with this is the same thing. You're going to click on this object. Actually, you know what? I think what I meant to do with this is this. I think I actually was going to leave the center one. That's how I think I was going to do this one. And then come over here and click on this and do that. And then click on this. And I've got these grouped together. What I did essentially was I come in and I grouped all these things in advance. So all I really have to do here is click that and click that and click that. And it's very repetitious, very simple to do. All right. Come in and click that and click that. What was it? Orange. There we go. All right. Over here. Let's do this with the split complementary. Let's go object, ungroup. I'm sorry, unlock all. And let's click on that. And let's make that 50. 50. Come on. Oh, it's probably easier to do this. 50. And then click on that guy. Hold down the shift key. And let's bring that back up to 100%. So we have 3. Make it a split complementary. Okay? So again, it's complementary, split complementary. So there's the split, right? Complementary would be those two. Split complementary of those. And that is the complement. Does it make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, actually, when I had those grayed out, that was still split complementary. But this would then be the preferential one. When you're working with these colors, it's a very common thing to not have, like, for instance, if you have complementary colors, you don't generally use the complementary colors at the same strength. What you generally do is you generally pick one color to be the primary color. And then the second would be a complement to that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so let's go over to this one. Click on that, and then click on this guy. And then click on this guy here. And click on that guy. Click on this guy here. And click on green. Okay, and I even got a fourth one in here, but I'm not going to use it, so it doesn't matter. Click on that guy, and we're going to go with green. Click on this guy, and do this one, and go with orange, and this guy here. Click. Whoops, I'm getting ahead of myself. Click on this, and then click on purple. Okay, So there's another way of doing this. This would be another way of handling it. All right.
All right.
So it's like totally up to you how you want to do it. I think those are two pretty good ways that you could go about doing it. I have one more I can show you, actually, since we got plenty of time here. Go to the File menu, and let me go Open. Where are we at here? Open, and let me go to my desktop. Give me a second. Where are we at? I think I passed it. Yeah, print production color theory. There we go. And we want week 1, I think. Let's see, week 1. And originals, yes. And let's go and find Mondrian. There we go. Mondrian, RGB. Open. Okay. So, what's that?
Sorry. I'm sorry.
This is another one. Are you guys familiar with the artist Piet Mondrian?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Well, Piet Mondrian was a graphic sort of a graphic painter. He did a lot of very graphic looking paintings, and he did also use these primary colors. So what I did was I went and I found the painting that I thought best worked for me as far as a demonstration. Now this, of course, isn't an 8x8, so I don't recommend that you do this. But I just was trying to be a little interesting with it. And if you did do something a little bit different in size than an 8x8 because you had to for some reason, I would not have a problem with that. I really am. I'm more concerned that what you're demonstrating, what you're sending to me, is correct than whether you follow the rule of making it 8x8. Of course, I don't want you to make it 45 by 45s. There's no point in that silliness, but you get what I'm saying. I'm mostly concerned about your understanding of the color relationships and how to work with them stylistically in a project than anything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So this is the same deal. I mean, basically, I just got some color shapes here, and I don't know whether this is locked or not. Let me see. Let's go to View Fit All in Window. No, so there's only one of these things. I guess it's not locked. So basically, this is the same deal. I'm going to go Select Same, Fill Color, and I did this way not because this is how I would work on it, but as an instructor, I wanted to be able to show you how to do this, and I thought the quickest and easiest way to go about doing this would be to just basically set this thing up so I could click a color and fill a color in real quick. You know what I mean? As
Right.
opposed to having to do it piece by piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically now all I'm going to do is click on the orange, bring the orange in, and then I'm going to click on the next one here, select Same, Fill Color, and I'm going to choose my purple on that one. And again, I don't know, I might actually in the end do something a little different with it, but this is probably okay the way I'm doing it, just for a demonstration. Select the Same, Fill Color, and this will be the green. And there I've basically taken that Mondrian painting and I've changed the color scheme to work with a tertiary color arrangement. So there are 3 different looks that you can come up with. Mine are in all 3 cases, mine are very geometric in appearance. Does that mean that you have to be? No, you could do something. Could you do a background to it? Yeah, you could do a background to it. You can do pretty much anything you want to do. Just try to follow the rules as closely as possible. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Do you think you have any questions or any thoughts on this?
The only question I have is on tertiary. If I need a thicker understanding of the tertiary color scheme, is that in the book?
Well, it's in the book, but if you go back here, okay, you can find that. Go to color relationships. Let me go back one. Go to color relationships and go to web. And I'm sure, let's go in and see if we have a good explanation of tertiary color. I know that they do. Let's just go in and look at it. Secondary, tertiary colors. Tertiary colors, those colors achieved by mixing a primary and a secondary color hue.
Okay.
All right. So if you stop and think about it, let's see what else they say. Let's go back to another one. Combinations. Let's see what they say about tertiary in here. Monochromatic, complementary, split, double complementary, analogous, triad, Doesn't really say on this one. Go back to this one. See what that one says. Color relationships. Analogous. This one is interesting because it shows you the different color schemes. And they show different ranges of color, but they're all the same.
Yeah, I like that.
Triad, let's see here. Triad. You know what? Let's do this since we have plenty of time here. Let's go and look for about tertiary. Terciary. Now, Ciary. I think I spelled that right. Maybe I didn't. Let's try it. Well, let me get my spelling right on this. Hold on.
I
It's
think there's a T in there.
Yeah, Tertiary.
Tertiary. Tertiary color relationships. So let's click on this and ask specifically about that. So basic color theory, we're getting basically the same stuff. Primary, here, this one here looks like it might have it. Check it out. Primary, secondary, tertiary hues. So let's go down and see what they tell you about. There's primary, secondary, tertiary. Okay, so there you have it. Tertiary colors. The third set of hues are known as tertiary or intermediate colors. They're made by mixing adjacent primary and secondary hues. The 6 tertiary or intermediate colors are, and here's where you want your business. Yellow, green, blue violet, red orange, and yellow orange. So look, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab this, copy, and we're going to go back to Illustrator. And I'm going to go back to I guess I shut it. So let's go File, Open, Recent. Where are we at here? Right here, let's open my color wheel. All right, and let's go edit, paste, there. And let's just drag this down to the bottom. All right, so basically what it's telling you is they're yellow, green. So there's yellow, green. Let's go Object, Ungroup. All right, Object, Ungroup. So yellow, green, there's one. Blue, violet. That's blue, violet. There's one. Yellow, orange. There's one. I guess that's it. Blue, violet, red, violet, red, violet. So there's red, violet, and let's go backwards from it. That's blue, green. Blue, green. Actually, red, orange. And yellow, orange. So there are your colors. They're the colors that they're telling you. I think I got them right. Yellow, green. Yellow, green. Did I get yellow, green? I did not get yellow, green. There's the yellow, green. Okay, so there they are. Blue, violet. I think I missed one. Yeah, I must edit, undo. Edit, undo, move. And I got to get the blue, violet as well. So now that I've got them, we drag them over here. There are your tertiary colors right there.
Awesome. Okay.
So, you know, again, as I say, if you don't find a proper explanation for a particular thing like tertiary color, if you're not happy with the original colors that come up, you just basically do a search for tertiary color, and it'll come up and it'll give you an explanation of what they are.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
I understand it now.
Yeah. Yes, it's all very easy. This is not this part of the 4 weeks is not for me the heavy hitting stuff. This is good stuff to know, and it's very good to know when you start working in Adobe or is it Adobe? I think it's the Cooler. I think Cooler is Adobe. It might be Adobe, but anyway, Cooler. When you go into Cooler, because the Cooler will set up to. As a matter of fact, you know what? We got enough time that I'll go. Close this out. We'll go back to Cooler for a minute. Save changes. No, we have enough time. We have enough time that I could do this. We have a little bit of time left. So let me go back to my discussion.
I saw it when you opened it up at the beginning of class. It is Adobe, and they're changing the name to Color CC.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just read that off to the side when you opened it up at the beginning of class.
Wow.
Okay. I'm just gonna, since we have a good bit of time here, I'm just gonna hit one of these things and play one of these things for you.
Okay.
They have an
All
entire.
right, now that we know the ins and outs of all of the interface elements here inside of Cooler, it's time to start building our first color theme. So if you want to, just go ahead and click Create again. That will refresh the page for you and take you to a brand new blank color scheme that just matches what you see here on my screen. And what we're going to do is we're going to name this something first. So let's assume here that we're creating a color palette for a website design. So I'm just going to call this Website Colors and press Enter. And then I'm going to also choose a rule for this. Now, again, we're going to go over these rules a little bit later on, but for right now, we're just going to choose monochromatic, which keeps everything sort of in the same range in terms of colors. Now, when we're talking about the colors themselves, here on the color wheel and underneath, you have three basic values that you can control: hue, saturation, and brightness. And you control each one in a different way. So to change the hue of the colors, what you're going to do is you're just going to select your base color. So I'm just going to click right here to select it. That's also going to make it the active selection here on my color wheel. And to change the hue of this, I just click and drag around the circle. And then once I get there to the point where I want it to be, let's say this green color here, what I want to do now is control the saturation. Dragging this towards the outside of the circle will increase the saturation, while dragging it towards the middle of the circle will decrease the saturation. See, as I drag those in, they get a little bit more gray, a little bit less colorful. So if I drag this out a little bit, I can sort of dial in exactly where I want it to go. And then to control the brightness of this color, I'm going to come down underneath, and you can see these little sliders. Right now, this is at full brightness. If I want to darken it up, I just drag to the left, and you see all the other colors change accordingly based on my base color as I'm going through. So now, just from that one color, I'm actually creating a whole color palette based on that rule just by dragging around. Once I get to something I like, something like this, I've got my theme pretty much created. Now, from here, what I can do is I can actually start taking these RGB values and I can apply them to different things, different applications, what have you. I could also take these hex codes and I could copy those and maybe paste them into a text editor where I'm writing CSS, for instance. Makes it very handy to get color values that work well on website designs. Once I have my theme all ready to go, all I have to do here is click Save. That's going to save this to my Creative Cloud account or to my Cooler account, and then I have access to this for as long as I want. It's now in the My Theme section, and you see here this is highlighted, indicating we've gone over to the My Theme section, and I can see this. On the right-hand side, I have information about this color theme that I've created. Right now, it's private. Only I can see it. I can make that public by clicking this, and that way everyone can see the color theme that I've created. I can add this to my favorites, making it a little bit easier for me to access it. Or I could also edit the theme. If I look at it or I send it to a client and the client's like, no, I really don't like that, that's okay. I can go in and edit that at any time. It'll take you back to the color wheel. You can start making adjustments from there. You can also copy a link to this. That way, when you copy that link, you could email it to your client and just say, hey, these are the colors I'm thinking about for your logo or your website or your business card, whatever the case may be. You can download this file, and it will download to your computer as a .ase file, which is also known as an Adobe Swatch Exchange file, which is then able to be loaded into applications like Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, making it really easy for you to use this color palette anywhere you are designing at any time. You can delete it from here as well. If you don't need it anymore, you can delete it. And then down here at the bottom, you have more information like who it was created by, when it was created, how many times it's been viewed, the overall rating from other community members, how many times it's been favorited. And then down here at the bottom also, you can add tags to this as well. Now, tags are going to be things that represent this color scheme that you've created. So what are some tags you might want to add? Well, it's green. It's monochromatic. We can say trees, leaves, whatever you want to add to this, you can add it right there. And as you add those, it becomes a part of the metadata of this color scheme, and it allows people to find it based on those keywords. When we talk about searching and exploring for color schemes a little bit later on, I'll show you where tags come into play. But for now, we're just worried about creating our first color theme, and we've actually done it. We're finished. From here, it's up to you exactly what you do with it, but it's just that simple to create your first theme.
A membership to lynda.com unlocks
Thank
this
you.
entire course.
So anyway, not bad, right?
That's cool. I like
Yeah.
that.
Now, there's something really cool about this, and maybe you don't quite know this yet, but we just watched this guy create what's known as a color scheme. We can do the exact same thing that they're doing here in Adobe Illustrator. However, we do not have the ability to make a 5-color scheme at once. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Go back to Illustrator and double click on this guy right here. And we get our color picker. Now, what we have here, I don't know why this is doing this. This color picker is not presenting itself properly. Why is it doing that? Something's not right. This is our color, and you can see it's actually changing the color, but I'm not seeing it there. I don't know why. Let me hit cancel. What's wrong with this thing? Yeah, this isn't behaving right. This should be all different colors in here. Okay? Those are your hues. Hues mean color. Can you see this as a series of colors or just all red?
It's all red.
Yeah, so something's not right with this. I have to figure out what it is. This is Creative Cloud. I just put it on here, and every once in a while I'm spotting bugs and stuff, so I'm going to have to make a note of that. The color picker's not working. Give me a second. Not working. Okay. So anyway, what normally you should be seeing here, and if you opened up your own, you would see that these are all different hues, different colors. Okay. So just as he was talking about on that cooler, you have hue, saturation, and brightness. Okay. So hue would be here, and you would change the hue by just dragging the slider up or down, and you would get all these different hues. Okay. Saturation and brightness. Saturation. There's a fully saturated color. As you drag this little circular shape across the bar, you are desaturating the color until you reach a point where the color is essentially white. Okay, so that's saturation. Hue, saturation, and brightness.
Okay.
You keep going all the way to the bottom, you get black. You come down here, okay, see what you're getting? Lighter and lighter and lighter until you get fully the full hue of that color. No saturation, no brightness at all. And then, of course, you click OK. Oh, and by the way, this shows you, just like the other one does, it shows you the hexadecimal number, and it shows you also what the color is. Watch this. This is not changing either. That's another thing. Oh, maybe it's not moving. There we go. See how they moved CMYK over here, RGB over here, and HSB. HSB stands for hue, saturation, and brightness. Okay, so hue, saturation, and brightness. What's the big difference? The big difference is when you're in Cooler, you have the ability to take 5 different hues and play with their saturation and brightness at once, creating a color scheme. Where in Adobe Illustrator, the picker, you can't do that. You can only do it one at a time. So if you want to create 5 colors that relate to one another based on hue, saturation, and brightness, you can do that in Cooler. You can do it in Illustrator, but you'd have to do it one color at a time, and it would be a lot less exact. Okay? So I just wanted to show you that because it's really, this thing functions the same exact way. I don't know why this is doing this. This functions exactly the same way, hue, saturation, and brightness. And that's what that particular demonstration was showing you up in lynda.com. All right? That's it. I basically, unless you guys have some questions for you, I think I've pretty much covered everything I need to cover for tonight. You have your assessment, your assignment, and your discussion. Are there any questions about any part of that before you go, or do you think you're good to go and do this?
Yeah, I think
I think so.
I think it's pretty easy. I do have one thing. It's kind of on a more personal issue. When will we be using InDesign?
You're going to be using InDesign. You have a choice next week of using InDesign for your business card. I'm going to show you how to make your business card envelope and letterhead in both InDesign and Illustrator. You have a choice of whether you choose one or the other. I prefer you to use InDesign, but I don't mandate it. You can do it in Illustrator or InDesign. Week 3, you're going to be creating a trifold brochure, and you will definitely be using InDesign for week 3 to create the trifold brochure. And again, my focus is going to be on how well you understand the production. Now, this week we didn't really cover all that much in the way of production. This was mostly just kind of getting us ready to go by playing with color a little bit and understanding color. Next week, the production stuff starts to hit, and it's going to be, I don't want you to think when I mention this production stuff, I don't want you to think it's incredibly difficult, because to be totally honest with you, I think it's very simple. I really do. I think this is probably going to prove to be one of the simplest courses that you're going to go through. But the stuff is incredibly important to know, because every time you print any kind of a project, the things that you will learn will apply to those projects. So I just want to make sure that all of you properly are aware of how important it's going to be down the road to you, that you know this stuff.
Yeah, the only reason I was asking was I'm having technical difficulties with my InDesign program.
Okay.
And they're talking about sending me a whole new computer because IT can't figure out what the issue is. So I was just making sure that it would be, you know, I don't want to run into a situation, but I think 3.
Well, you saw I just had a problem with my color picker.
Mm-hmm.
That's not functioning right. You know that, right? You're familiar with the color picker, right? You know what that hue bar looks like, don't you?
Yeah, it's supposed to look like the one over here on the right now. It's
a rainbow of colors.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, this one. Yeah. Here you go. You're right. There it is, right there. That's it right there as well. It should look more like that. For some reason, that thing isn't working. I don't know why that is. This is what I'm working on is CS6. I'm sorry, Creative Cloud. That's what it is, Creative Cloud.
And I had a question about the Creative Cloud. Have both of you downloaded the Creative Cloud? Are you using that? How is that going? Because I'm in the process of downloading mine now.
I just did mine. And I have a bug. I noticed one bug already. I think that my interface looks bigger than my other one does, and I'm not exactly sure how to modify that yet. I have to figure that out. I'm going to be calling IT about this tomorrow.
Okay.
I just want to point out to you, Angela, I mentioned this at the beginning, but since you brought it up, I'll bring it up again. Please go in and check my announcements. I have several announcements for you that are going to help you. And one of the announcements gives you some instructions about how to download and get your Creative Cloud going.
Okay, I definitely will.
Be sure you do that.
Okay.
I'm good. I got everything covered. Like I say, this is your time now. If you have anything you need or want, you talk now or forever hold your peace.
No, it's all pretty clear.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
All right. Then I guess that's it for the night. And just remember that we have Misty. There's a announcement on her. She is going to be my assistant. You can contact her. You can contact me. You have my phone number. You have my email. Let me just see for a second here if I can help you. Give me 1 second, just so that you know. Give me 1 second. Where is it? Where did I put it? Here it is. Okay. You guys know what in Blackboard Collaborate where the Student Help Center is?
Oh, yeah.
So I am going to be there on Thursday from 1 o'clock to 4 Mountain Time, Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mountain Time, and Saturday from 7 p.m. to 12 p.m. Mountain Time. That's for anybody in the class who would want me to take a look at something, or if you have a question about something, be sure to come and see me there, and I'll be more than happy to help you out.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Thank you both for coming, and make sure you come next week because I don't want to be alone here.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
You too.
You as well.
Yeah.